And I have this dream of how I want to live in the future. And yeah, and it involves so many beautiful things, and it just really supports who I am as an individual and the soul that I have.
Topical steroid withdrawal is impacting lives in so many terrible ways. People are desperate for help, desperate for support outside of time being the only healer. They're seeking help from cold atmospheric plasma treatment. You can hear their stories here.
Pajama party.
Yep, we are.
Sleepover.
We're hanging out, and we're hanging out on the bed because I mean, where else do you want to do this, you know?
I want to do all my podcasts and interviews in bed. I mean, this is where I'm going to live most of the time and where I have lived all through TSW, you know? So
Yeah.
this is realistic.
Yeah. So I think Jamila, for those that are watching that don't know Jamila, she is like just a force of a woman. She's Malaysian by descent, with a tinge of Filipino as well in there, and she is LA based now, and she's gone through topical steroid withdrawal. All of it is on her Instagram. But Jamila, please tell us a little bit about your history as it relates to eczema, topical steroid withdrawal, and just how you got to cold atmospheric plasma here in Bangkok.
Okay, so yeah, as you know, my name's Jamida, and you've seen me on Alia's stories because we always share rides to go to the clinic together, and we're roomies, and that's why we're this close. We can be intimate with each other. um, so I've been living in Malaysia. I've lived there for most of my life. You know, I was in Australia and then moved to the United States because my mother is American and we have family there. So I was living in Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas, I did not experience any eczema flare ups. My eczema was basically, I would say that it was under control. I think for some reason, you know, I didn't have any episodes because I was not working, so it was very peaceful, because you know that stress contributes to flare-ups and eczema. So, as most of us have experienced, you know, eczema since we were a child. In fact, for me, it was when I was a baby, and this is I was told by my mom, like she saw redness on my cheeks when we were traveling to London, when we had a family home there. So steroid usage basically started when I was a young child and continued all through my 30s and then moved to the US in 2018. So I was in Vegas for 2 years, and then after that, I moved to LA in 2020. And I think what had happened was that the apartment that I was staying at had mold. And so it kind of triggered an immune response. Already, I have a lot of allergies. And so my immune system was weakened, and I started experiencing red patches on my face and on my neck, majority of it on my face and neck. And I didn't know what it was. And so I went to a reputable doctor there in Beverly Hills, and he said that I needed to um, apply steroids to my skin. And so I started doing that. It was a few months later, like it would just keep reappearing. I would get swollen eyes. I was so inflamed at the time. I had no idea. I thought it was just allergies. I must have eaten something or exposed myself to it. I had already at that point started using unscented detergents and less toxic chemical cleaning products, like Method and things like that. But in fact, that's not true for TSW skin. Once you start displaying symptoms, you can even be allergic to natural fragrances. So, so yeah, so then, and then continue to use steroids, continue to use stronger steroids that were prescribed to me. In December, December of 2022, I was like, that's it, something is wrong with my body. Started researching it, had depression, because I had no idea what was going on, didn't know about topical steroid withdrawals. January 2nd, I was in the emergency. They gave me prednisone, which was oral steroids, despite me saying, specifically that, hey, I use steroids. This must have happened because of steroids. And they said, no, with oral steroids, it won't happen to you. Guess what? They were wrong. And I was, it was like the blind leading the blind. Like nobody knew what was going on. And then in March, so before that, I started using immunosuppressant topicals because I went to another dermatologist and she said, this is fine. You're not going to experience any of those symptoms, the redness, the burning. She was wrong too. Finally, cold turkey, early March, discovered that there was a treatment called CAP in April, made the decision in June to come here, arrived, no, sorry, in May, made the decision in May, arrived here early June.
Thank you. That was a great history and so much more detail on her Instagram. But Jamila, you go to your first appointment, you meet the clinic director, you meet the team. What did you learn about your case when you got to that? When you got there?
So I had only given him my steroid history, and when I say him, it's Jay, like the infamous Jay. He's a really like compassionate, like knowledgeable person. And it was, I think I stayed at the clinic for several hours, and it was over an hour that he started explaining to me one by one what was happening to my body. Because up until that point, I was still very confused. Like, why was I shedding and flaking so much? Why was I having insomnia? Why was I as itchy as I was in the evenings, at nighttime? And he said to me, based on my class of steroids, the strength of steroids used, plus the how many mgs I had used, that the that my stage one would be 4 years, and that's without cap. And with cap therapy, it would reduce it to about 2.5 years, but I would have to continue treatments for 10 months.
What does stage one mean for viewers that don't know what that is?
So, stage one is when your skin appears to be normal, with cap, sorry, and your skin is still hypersensitive, meaning that if you are exposed to irritants, you could flare up.
Thank you. Thank you for that description. We're going to talk a little bit about later about what it means when you get home and what that's going to look like for you. But do you want to share any learnings or lessons that you've observed or you've witnessed that you've gone through while you've been going through CAP for 14 treatments, I think it is
Yeah.
total?
So, I think you have to have a lot of mental strength. And I think my own personal spiritual journey kind of prepped me for this, because I started meditating and practicing breath work, alternative like methods of healing for the past since 2019. So if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have been able to cope with it or be strong enough to manage TSW the way I have, because honestly, like, this is just the most like confusing condition. And on top of that, like, you're not allowed to scratch. I had to create all these protocols and rituals that Alia like knows all about, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be gone. I'll be missing. I'll be in my room for like an hour and a half doing my rituals. Um, and I would have all these posters like plastered around the room, just giving me that motivation and the strength and the courage to do it. And a lot of that motivation comes from the fact that I'm a mom, hence the mommy pajamas. And sometimes when you have someone else to kind of give you that strength, like your children, it really does help, because you can kind of, I don't know, you can really get depressed and you can go insane because you have no idea what's happening to your body. And there are so many different symptoms, which I'm sure Alia has talked about. And any of it could appear at any time for whatever reason. So I think the big, huge learning that I have coming out of my, completing my CAP treatments is that you need to go into this with an open mind. You need to keep an open mind, and you have to strengthen your mind through practices like breath work and meditation. And you have to continue to find the tools to help you get to that state, that inner state of balance and calm and peace, because and acceptance. Surrender is another one that we talk about all the time. Because if you continue to fight it, you're going to have a very difficult time.
Thank you for that, Jimmy. Then also, just having you in my space and us going through it together in that way, affirmations around our apartment, sitting down and doing meditations together, like all of it uh, just solidified every piece of my healing journey as well. It's things I was doing on my own, but imagine doing it together with someone that's going through something as difficult as you and can understand what you're feeling, it kind of like heightens all the positivity. It's pretty spectacular and electric, really, to be honest. I wanted
Wow.
I wanted to
It's
ask you,
electric.
it is kind of electric. I wanted to ask you a typical day in the life of a CAP patient. I know it's different for everybody. You know, I've interviewed people that have to go back to work and live in environments where they are exposed to irritants, but a typical day in the life of Jamida, well, and I guess Alia, here in Bangkok as you've been navigating CAP treatments.
So, um, I think this is something that everybody should practice, and not just people that go through CAP, that when they wake up, don't look at your phones. No scrolling IG, no checking messages, because when you wake up, you're in theta mode, which is your brainwave state, meaning you could be susceptible to influence, outside influences, and becoming overstimulated, and being, um, and allowing that to kind of to set your morning. Like, that should not be the morning setting. Like, any external influence should not be that. It should be brought in a way that's like peaceful and slow and very intentional. So when I wake up, I do a meditation first thing. Yeah, it's on my app. Like, I go on Insight Timer and find the meditation. So I do a minimum of like maybe 10 minutes meditation, I think, is just enough, because you're in that theta state for 20 minutes. So I wake up, I do the meditation, and then I get up and I like brush my teeth, and I drink, I replenish myself. Our bodies are made up of 70% water, so you have to nourish yourself and rehydrate. So water is important. I take my vitamins. So we do a lot of like gut repair, because there's a gut brain skin connection happening here. So I think probiotics are very important piece of the puzzle in healing. And then I sweep, like I clean my room. So we're in an apartment here that can get a little dusty, like Bangkok is polluted. And so I'm allergic to dust. And I know this because I've done like a bunch of allergy tests. Like, I did blood tests, I did skin tests. So I sweep. I sweep my room, I sweep the common areas, and there's this joke. I'm like, Alia, who's gonna sweep when I'm not here? Because I do all the sweeping. I enjoy it for some weird reason. So yeah, I sweep, and then I start to make breakfast. And still at this point, I'm not like texting. I'm not on my phone. I'm just really just intentionally starting my day in a way that is like nice, in a nice flow state. So, and then we make breakfast together. And so Alia's there with all her like different like ingredients to make a good like um bowl, a granola bowl or something like that, like a yogurt, with Greek yogurt and things like that. And so I'm making that breakfast, and fruits, having healthy kind of ingredients, and having a nutritious meal like in the morning is so important. So then I'll have my breakfast, and then after that I'll start to, okay, then I'll maybe FaceTime with my children, especially when they were in summer holidays, like they were still awake, like the time with the time difference, because that would like give me the encouragement and positive, like, and set the tone for the day. And then afterwards I would maybe do some work on the computer, maybe prepare lunch, and then we cook lunch. Like, we like to make soups here, and then maybe respond to some DMs on my IG, and then we rest. We've been watching
Afternoon siestas.
so Alia takes a nap. I do meditation naps because for some reason it's hard for me to sleep in the afternoon. So I'll do like either a 15-minute power nap or a 30-minute nap, and then just rest. We do a lot of red lighting here. So we use that because the red light is good to reduce inflammation, and it helps like with closing up wounds. And so there are specific areas on my body, like behind my knees and things like that, that I like just leave the red light there, and it's very soothing. Um, and then we might do an afternoon meditation as well, and then we watch movies. And I think what we also do is we talk to each other, right? We're like we're detectives.
Yes. We like break down our, so this we observed in terms of our environment, or this is happening on our body, or something is impacting us, and we kind of go through, okay, step by step, how do we extract what we think the variable might be that's causing us said problem. So we kind of break it down. She's really good. She sort of stands there, here's her list, and she kind of paces as she does it, and then I listen, and then I share my perspective and my feedback, and we're kind of sort of similarly hardwired that way. So it does work really well, I think.
Yeah.
And we also have a rule where we don't actually turn on the TV until like after dinner or dinner time. So that's when we watch our movies.
After we're productive during the day. There
Because
are
we were
moments that we failed, but yeah.
early on when we were still like early in the treatments. But
Yeah, because we needed the extra rest.
exactly. And I mean, think about how unproductive we were before getting here. So it's kind of now time for us to catch up a bit on all the worldly things that we weren't
That we were
really able
missing
to
out
do
on.
professionally
Yeah.
and so on. So, Jamila, I got one more question for you before we shift gears to a totally different sort of theme.
Okay.
Low tox life for you when you get home. Can you just give us a quick sort of description of it? Because we're going to get into what you visualize for yourself a little bit later.
Okay, so basically, living a low tox life means using products and eating foods and exposing yourself to and applying to your skin products that are safe, right? Because there are so many different things like carcinogens, like PFAS, which is forever chemicals that appear in all kinds of products that we have no idea are affecting us long term. Our hormones, like it's affecting our hormones, it's affecting, like it's giving us neurological diseases, it's giving us more and more conditions like illnesses that we should not be having. So I think it's very important, like I've been forced to live this low tox life because I have 2.5 years of healing from TSW stage 1. So I don't have a choice. Like I cannot be using polyester synthetic clothing because it affects my skin. I'm very sensitive and it does off gas like chemicals. Um, Skincare, you have to use paraben free skincare. Our TSW skin can only tolerate CJ serum, right? So things like that, even using the detergents to clean your laundry, using bedding that is organic and natural, so also cotton and bamboo. So many different products, like cleaning products in your home. This is it has You have to do like an audit and assessment of your home, and it could be anything from like the water that you're drinking, right? It could contain all these like heavy metals, um, and it could be toxic for you. And so the low tox life for me is about living in a slow, intentional like manner, and being very mindful of what is in my environment so it doesn't harm me. And I and I think that by doing this, like I'm teaching my family members and my children that it is also a life that they can live, not just because I have TSW.
One last question before we close out this segment. Cap, did you need it to heal?
100%. So when I was in LA, I was suffering. I think some of you may have seen my TikTok videos. I was ugly crying on TikTok because it was unbearable. The pain was so unbearable. And I honestly, they say that 80% of TSW patients contemplate suicide. You have suicidal ideations. I was there. I may not have had suicidal ideations in a sense that, like, not knowing what I was going to do with myself, but like, I just, I didn't know how I was going to continue living in that state of pain, of suffering. And I'm going to share this with you, like, because I want to be completely vulnerable and transparent. Like, I would collapse on the floor of my house crying in a mess, in a total mess, because I did not know like how I would face the next 30 minutes, the next hour, because I was constantly either scratching or I was burning up, thermal dysregulation. I was not sleeping. I was a walking zombie. And so Cap and Jay saved my life. If there is a way for for me to have gone through that period, like accelerated that period, there's no to me there's I mean it's an easy option, it's an easy answer. Like I was going to do it, I was going to drop everything, my whole life, which I did, left my children for 3 months to be under the care of a family member, people that I trust. And I know that's not easy, not everybody has family that can take over, right? But I had to make it work because I knew that without Cap I was going to continue to suffer. And I don't know what would happen if I did continue suffering. So 100% CAP works for me. Look at the transformation that I've made, my before and after. And you can see it's very obvious that it worked for me. It helped heal me. It's not a cure, it helped heal me and move past a certain stage of TSW.
Jamila, thank you for being vulnerable with us. I know, honestly, the running theme with many of the people that I'm talking to is that it's just so difficult during TSW. And I know people that are watching this understand TSW symptoms more than the average person, but there's nothing like it. It's so unbearable. And so thank you for sharing your truth.
Of course, of course.
Jamila, turning to our sort of next segment, I want to talk about your learnings and just trauma writ large. People are like individual people need to take control of their life. They need to take control of their health and they need to put their well being first. I want to ask you, what is your inner voice saying to you right now as you've sort of conquered this thing? You've been on this healing journey. What is your inner voice saying to you that you want to share with everybody?
It's to design a life that really suits your spirit, that suits your energy, that suits your body. And I think that, TSW has really sent me on this journey that I was already considering taking before. It's kind of that slow life. And now I'm like, okay, I have no other choice but to live this life because I did live the fast-paced life. Um, when I was in fashion, when I was building all these brands. And now I just realized that I can't do that. I can no longer do that anymore. Like my body just doesn't allow for it. And so I have this vision, I have this dream of how I want to live in the future. And yeah, and it involves so many beautiful things. And it just really supports who I am as an individual and the soul that I have.
Can you describe that vision for us? Like give us just a taste of what Jamila looks like post TSW or on the heels, back end of TSW. Give us a taste.
Okay, so let's all do this exercise together. So, what we'll do is we will close our eyes. Okay, so close your eyes and just slowly start to get a sense of where you are in your body and just bring your awareness to your breath and take slow, deep inhales and exhales through the nose and allow the tummy to rise on the inhale and allow the tummy to fall on your exhale. Just get in touch with yourself. And I think everybody can kind of resonate with this visualization. But I'm going to take you through what I visualize and envision and want to manifest from my future. So I imagine myself being barefoot, walking on the grass, allowing the grass to kind of to soften and to soften my body, to just let go. And I'm walking towards a field, and this field has fruit trees. There's a fruit orchard, and there are berries, and I'm slowly picking those berries, and I'm smelling the freshness of the berries. And I'm just picking it, and there's no fertilizer, and you know how clean and pure these fruits are, grown with love and care, and I'm just popping it into my mouth. And I turn around and I see this beautiful house, and it's made of sustainable materials like hemp, recycled furniture. And I just I'm walking there and it's mid-morning and there's this beautiful smell from the kitchen and we're cooking organic foods and the table is laid out and there are just all these unprocessed whole foods that are so healthy for our bodies. And then later in the afternoon, I play a sound bath session because, sound, we're made up of a vibration and it's just going to put you in this really relaxing state and allowing your body to kind of just surrender to the sounds and the music. And then I start to walk towards the ocean because the ocean will be nearby. And I'm dipping my body in the ocean and it's just so it feels so amazing to be dipped into water and swimming in that water and coming out and putting on my organic cotton outfit and towel, and just living a very slow intentional life filled with love, filled with laughter, um, filled with the scents from the beautiful flowers that are growing and blooming. It could be lavender, just it's a very sensorial experience. Like, this is how I want to live. Like, I don't want to be, there's no phones, no computers, no nothing to distract you from this amazing slow life. And so you can slowly bring your bodies back, to your awareness, to your surrounding, and you can slowly blink your eyes open.
Thank you. That was so vivid and so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know that we could all picture that. I mean, I was walking with you through every element of that journey. And if a place like that exists for you and for others, I mean, oh, what a dream.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like there is this dream and now, I'm just trying to make a clear path forward, just to know where I'm headed and with the children and everything, it's not going to be easy. It's no easy task, to organize and plan for something like this life, but it is indeed something that I envision for myself and that I envision for a lot of the TSW and CAP patients here because in order to heal, we need to be in an environment that is conducive to our healing. And so that slow paced, like, life in Italy or France, or it could be in Bali or something like this, with just being connected to the earth, being connected to each other.
Mm.
I think connections matter. That's what makes us gives us happiness and also makes a fulfilling and satisfied life. It's the relationships that we have with each other, and how they're filled with love and how they're filled with humanity. And TSW has given me an even more bigger sense of humanity. So I'm so grateful for this experience, even though it's been the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Thank you for joining me on this TSW CAP journey, for being real with us today, for sharing your truth, and just spending time. Spending time. It's been an honor and a privilege to spend these last months with you. And yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, I think we've built this true like friendship. I think when you go through TSW, you see people in the lowest period of their life, but having the acceptance and understanding of them. And so I've learned so much about you, and I'm so excited to learn more about you and seeing you in a different space as you continue your healing journey as well. And it's been such an honor to be your friend. And I'm very excited about our friendship to continue after this, and for you profiling all the cat patients as well. I think you've done an amazing job, so I'm rooting for you, like.
well, lots of love. And thanks for spending
Yeah.
the time.
All
And
right.
bye. Thanks for tuning in. For more stories such as this, please follow my IG.